to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, Allison Handler of Allison Handler Designs is with us. Allison spent 20 years in the fashion industry as a merchandiser, and then COVID hit. Now she was working from home, and she got a taste of that and kind of liked it. But then the world reopened, and she had to go back to work 5 days a week in and out of New York City on a train. And she realized she was ready to move into something else. So, accessing a different talent of hers, Allison started selling mood boards on Etsy. And then one day, a client found her, liked her style, and hired her to design their new construction empty home. She was integrating virtual and e-design. And Allison admittedly says she really didn't know anything about starting this interior design business at first. But guess what was her secret weapon? That's right. It was a well-designed business. She's another designer who listened every day on her commute in and out of the city to her fashion job, and through this gained the courage and the know-how to finally hang up her shingle, and she hasn't looked back since. Now, way back after she was just in business 2 months, Allison actually reached out to me, and I was impressed. I remember this conversation. I remember where I was when we talked. And I remember thinking, my goodness, she's in business 2 months and she is legitimately already attracting and working on high-end luxury projects. Being that we're both in New Jersey, when she mentioned the towns and the types of homes that she was working on, I knew exactly what she was talking about. But the thing was, she was struggling a little bit, which is why she reached out to me. She didn't have her processes in place. So in that conversation, I suggested that she take Sarah Lynn Brennan's course, How to Build Systems into Your Services at LuAnn University. She signed up and started, I think we were lucky. It was starting within a couple of weeks. Since then, she has continued to learn, to invest in herself and her business, and to grow her network. Allison prides herself, as she should, on the relationships that she has made throughout her design business journey with clients, vendors, and industry peers, like me, like Kim at Window Works, and like Meredith from House of Huck, to name just a few. I'm very excited to share Allison's story with you today. Hi, Allison. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. I am thrilled to be here.
Well, it's so funny because I don't know how many people realize it, that I don't do the interviews with video. So it's very unusual. I've met very few podcasters now. Back in the day when I started podcasting, all the way back in the day, 6 years ago, right? It was common. And I have kept that because it's comfortable for me. I'm writing notes. I'm listening. I'm not focusing on, you looking for me for a yes and approval and all the things. But the reason I bring all that up is because I'm so used to seeing you in person. I'm used to you coming into my office when you're at Window Works to say hello.
I know. That has been, a great little bonus for me. So,
well, it's been my pleasure getting to know you this last year, and that's what's really crazy is, we met about it. Maybe in another month or two would be, maybe it was 2 months, maybe August of just last year. So that would be August of 2021, whether it was July, August, September, whatever it was. But I remember, you reached out and we got on a phone call together and you were telling me how your business was just a couple, like maybe it was just hitting 2 months old. And I was so impressed. Like, I was just like, wait, it's
Ugh.
only been 7 weeks, right? And do you remember, like, I had the dual observation of, oh my goodness, you are attracting luxury clients out the gate. You are doing the jobs, but you did not have your processes documented. I'm like, you've got to
Oh
get into
no.
LuAnn University and get Sarah's class because, lady, you're on
Hmm.
fire and you need
Yeah.
a system, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I did. When LuAnn says jump, we say how high. So,
Well, there was also you told me a story that I loved, and I could picture walking in my neighborhood talking to you. I think we probably talked for 45 minutes or an hour, and I can picture walking in the neighborhood talking to you, and you told me this story. And what I loved about the story was, I'll say I loved your husband's part in the story, but I also loved because you guys, you listen to the show. Anybody listens to the show, I'm all about. Well, then this happened, and then that happened, and then this happened, and then there's a moment. And so, tell us your story, Allison.
okay. So basically, long story short,
No,
I
don't
kind of,
do long story short. Tell us
okay,
the
all
whole
right,
story.
long story long, long story long.
We got time.
So, okay, good. I like that because I can talk. So, I spent 20 years, my first 20 years, I have a degree in business, and I spent my first 20 years in the fashion industry thinking, I'm living the dream. Like, what girl doesn't want to work in fashion in New York City? And that's what I was doing. I had a successful career. I spent my last, 10 years or so working for Donna Karen, making good money. And it was great. But then, COVID happened and our lives got turned upside down. And I have, in addition, to a full-time job, I'm a wife and a mother. I have two small children. And that at the time I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So
Ugh.
it was a bit much. Um, and I got a taste of that work from home life. And, it eventually, a couple months later, after, everybody started going back to work again, my company required everybody to go back to work 5 days a week. And, I was doing that. And, I enjoyed my job. I enjoyed the people I worked with, but I had done it for so long at this point. In addition to the fact that I was doing this daily grind into the city I live in, I'm a fellow Jersey gal,
That's it.
Jersey through and through. I live in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and with traffic, it was maybe, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes there and back. Um, and it was a lot for me. So I realized I probably was ready to segue, but I had no idea, what that was going to be. I never had dreams of owning my own business. I never had dreams of becoming an interior designer. It was not something that I ever kind of thought was going to happen for me. I do come, from an entrepreneurial family. My father is a great business person and a major mentor of mine, and has that entrepreneurial bone in his body for sure, and I definitely inherited that. But with that said, I never thought that was going to be a path I was going to take. So a friend of mine at the time, I had renovated a home once before and then moved into new construction and furnished and did all of that. In New Jersey. And at the time, a friend of mine was building a home and reached out to me and was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I love your house. Like, help me with tile, help me with this, help me with that. And I was just like, okay. So I taught myself how to use Photoshop and I started putting these mood boards together for her. And she was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, you should sell these. And I was like, girl, like, I'm a mom. I have a full-time job. Like, I don't have time for a side hustle right now. Like, what, are you crazy? So, that was that. And something that she said kind of sat with me and I percolated on it for a while. And eventually I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. So what I did was I ended up starting an Etsy shop and I started selling custom mood boards, like interior design mood boards on Etsy. And somehow, some way, and this was, about a year and a half ago,
Mm.
somehow, some way, this wonderful client found me who lives in Arizona, had just bought a 5,000 square foot new construction empty home and needed help. And she was like, I love your style. I want you to do my whole house. And I
Wow.
was like, gulp. like, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. Like, I wasn't a registered business yet. I didn't have an LLC yet. Like, I didn't know how to charge. I knew nothing. Um, but I did have a little secret weapon in my pocket, which was I had found your podcast and I was listening to the podcast and I kind of learned the steps I needed to take. Shortly thereafter, I registered my business as an official LLC, got my resale certificate, all of that, and started working with this client. I think at the time I charged her $2,000 or something crazy, LuAnn. I mean,
crazy both ways. Crazy at that moment that you would charge 2,000 because you couldn't imagine, but crazy hindsight, like, wait, only 2,000, right?
well, yeah, no, I remember like when she agreed, to pay me the $2,000, I called my dad and I was like, "You're never going to believe this. Somebody's going to pay me it was exciting, but yes, in hindsight, I was just like, oh man,
Yeah.
But I put my heart and soul into that with her and, we ended up with a great outcome. And in the meantime, I had a few other clients who I had found that were also kind of virtual. It was virtual design at the time, like, e-design. And but that's never really what I wanted to do. I wanted to eventually, at this point, I had figured out, okay, I love this. I love interior design. I want to do this. And, obviously, like I said, your podcast, and I would listen to it every day on my commute to and from the city. Like every single episode, I think I've listened to at this point. And, I was hooked. I had the bug. I was ready to go. And, so a few months later, I had a couple bucks in the bank. I had set up my own business bank account. I had, some stuff going on, but I also had a nice cushy job, and I was like, I was burning the candle at both ends. Like I would go into the city, work from, 9 to 6, come home, get home by like 7:30, take care of my kids, feed them, put them to bed, and then start my second job. And this was every night and every weekend. And I was like, I was burning out real fast. And I remember one morning, it was a Monday morning, probably some point in July last year. I was talking to my husband before I went to work and I was like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, this is killing me. I'm exhausted. I don't see my family. Like, I don't know what to do. And he was like, listen, like, I see the potential. I see what you have going on here. You have some money in the bank. If you want to quit your job, I support you. Like, go for it. But in the back, and I obviously that's amazing, and like I appreciated that so much. And I'm very lucky, that I had his support and financially, we were able to go down that road if I chose to. But in my mind, I wasn't ready to make that leap yet. I'm a workaholic first and foremost. Like people who are,
I've noticed it. Just going to tell you.
I know. It just is what makes me tick. And especially when I love what I do. But I love, the adult interaction. I love using my brain. I mean, all of that. So in my mind, I was like, I'm not ready to quit my job yet. I didn't say it out loud. But in my mind, I was like, I'm not ready to quit yet. I just don't feel it yet. I want one local client. Once I get my first local client, because like I said, at the time it was all virtual. I had Arizona, I had Pennsylvania, I had a few others, but I was like, I want to get my first local client and then I'll quit my job. So that was that. I go into the office and literally, LuAnn, 2 hours later, my phone rang and the rest is history.
Oh my goodness. I just love it. I said at the beginning, I love that your husband was supportive, right? I love that he saw that you had a talent for it, that you were making it happen, all of those things. And he also acknowledged, that here you are, you're doing a 12-hour day before you even start to take care of children and him, yourself, all of the things. But then and it's funny, we've all been in that place, right, Allison, where somebody tells us we can do something or they have faith in us or confidence for us or whatever. And we're not like, I can't do it. But that moment, I've had that same thing. Okay, but I'm not sure I'm ready just this second. Like Vin is like very supportive also. And they'd be like, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, yeah, but maybe next this or whatever. And when you say that to the universe, okay, I'll know it's right when this happens, and that happens like that day, 2 hours later,
Yep,
that is a moment, right? And
it
that is
is.
that intuition moment where you're like, okay, let's go. Pedal to
Let's
the
go.
metal,
Let's
right?
do this. Yep.
Yeah.
And I quit my job. I gave them a month's notice because, I had a long-standing relationship and I wanted to, go out the right way.
Mm-hmm.
I gave them a month's notice. So I started my business early June and I left my job by the end of August.
And that's the thing. I remember I probably met you right around that time, and I was just like,
Yes.
"Whoa,
Yes. Yeah.
whoa,"
And we
and
we hit the ground running.
yes, you
And it
did.
hasn't stopped.
No, you did, and here's the thing: there's a lot of things that go into your ability to hit the ground running. Okay, and we can never negate the 20 years legitimate work experience. Whatever, like you know Meredith Huck. She was just recently on the
Hmm.
show, and
Who
you
is a
know
very dear friend of mine, by the
right,
way.
right. And, she talked about how, having to pitch C suite level executives on the regular, it's to her to pitch a design proposal now that is multiple, tens of thousands, whatever it is. It's a muscle that's been flexed, right? And
Absolutely.
so there's other things. And so whatever the transferable or Erica Ward transferable skills, right? Skills,
Hmm.
right? Whatever they were, you can't negate those. Plus the business school to begin with. And then,
Right.
of course, fashion is, so tied and related to,
Like-minded.
yeah,
Absolutely.
industry as far as the design aesthetic part,
Right.
right?
And I was not on the design side. I was on the merchandising side,
Mm,
which is, for those who don't know, the way that I describe it is it's half business, half creative.
mm,
And that's how I've always kind of considered myself to be kind of right brain, left brain.
mm,
I'm definitely a creative, but for first and foremost, I'm a business person,
mm.
and that is my superpower, I think, and that is what's enabled me to be successful so early on. Knock on wood, in my business is my ability. Listen, like I said, I'm not technically trained at all. I've had to figure this out as I went, and but the most important thing is my business sense, and I'm able to, like you said, flex that muscle every day because that at the end of the day, this is a business. So,
Yeah. Well, and I love that because to your point, I don't exactly know what merchandising
hmm
means in that, but when you describe that you have to look at both sides, business and creative, it kind of reminds me that it might be along the lines when designers talk about, when they have to value engineer something, or you're just like, you want the look, but it
that's
has to
exactly what
be
it is.
right, it has to be sellable, it has to be relatable, it has to be able to be built, or the look that you're designing has to be appealing. And so that's a great training ground for what you're dealing with every day
Hmm.
now. Like if you just picked the most beautiful thing of everything, you would be out of budget on every job and you wouldn't have
Right.
repeat
Anybody could do
clients,
that.
right? Yeah, right, right. Anybody can do that. You're right.
Hmm.
Well, yes and no. You still have to
You're
be able to
right.
pick the stuff. Like you
Yes.
guys have a
Yes.
superpower that you could give me an unlimited budget and like literally say, it doesn't matter if you spend 100 grand or, 400 million on this. I'm not going to make it look like you. I'm not. I'm
Mm,
just not. But it is easier when the budget isn't in mind, right?
of
You can
course.
be less talented is I think your point, right?
Yeah, but that's also part of the fun, right? Is
Yes,
like the
right?
the challenge of the budget.
Mm,
It's like, you know, yes, obviously listen, like people who hire interior designers, they have, for the most part, a certain lifestyle and a certain, certain financial capabilities. Um, but everybody has a budget. I don't care who
right.
you are. Everybody has a budget and everybody has, money that they're comfortable spending and they're comfortable not. And, that to me, that's part of the fun.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's an excellent point. I love that because it really is irrelevant if you are a multi-billionaire or you are, average middle America, like 85% of us, right? It's
hmm
like you do have a budget. And so talk about that. How do you arrive? Because you're doing luxury design. I know Kimberly is just thrilled working with you, and she's always
I love
commenting.
her. I'm going to see her on Thursday, by the
Oh,
way.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
So always commenting on how beautiful the projects are and
Aw.
so forth. And so the thing is, give us some ideas and tips on the way you navigate that conversation so that you're not spinning your wheels designing. Because that is, by the way, one of the things that lesser experienced designers and window treatment professionals it's one of the Achilles heel, spending time designing spaces or window coverings before they absolutely have buy-in on some parameters on the budget. And so
hmm
how do you navigate that?
So, there's a couple of ways. First of all, when I do my initial, if you go to my website and you fill out a design inquiry, one of the few questions on there is, do you have a budget? And that is also one of the first questions I always talk to people about, because it's important to I can't be successful if you have to be realistic, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't be successful with a budget too small, um and because we want to be able to give you the best possible bang for your buck always, but there is obviously a cost associated here. So that's one of the first questions, to make sure that the project is right before somebody invests in me and my services, and us and our team, is making sure that it's a right fit financially. Once that box is checked, what I like to do, and I will tell you, I learned this from Meredith. This is a little tip that I got from her, is when I, meet for my initial consultation, I liked to give people, and this is more in the lines of furnishing projects,
Mm-hmm.
but I like to give people a sheet of paper that I put in my welcome packet that um, speaks to, you know, three options. So a sofa, you have a budget option, you have a mid-range option, and you have a high-end option. A coffee table, same thing. So people can at least eyeball that and see what things cost are average. And then what I normally tell people is I like to mix and match. So I'll pull, from each category, depending on what it is. And, of course, we'll talk through everything. But I like to, it's not everything needs to be super, super high end. And obviously, not everything is going to be low end. It's mix and match. And what I say is, listen, trust the process, trust me, give me your budget, whatever it is, whether it's $25,000 for a living room or $100,000 for a living room. Let me take that number and figure it out for you. That is my job, and then, you know, I will tell you where to save and where to splurge.
Mm.
And I mean, honestly, the same thing goes with renovations too, or new construction. We figure out where to save and where to splurge. Again, and that's whether you have a $500,000 budget, a $200,000 budget, or a $5 million budget. Again,
Right.
everybody has a budget. And my job is, while I'm sourcing whatever it is, whether it's flooring or tiles or couches or light fixtures, is to guide the client on, listen, you really don't want to skim on these cabinets. Like, cabinets take a beating, especially if you have young kids, and you want to, probably pay a little bit more for your cabinetry. But, maybe the kitchen faucet, you can, I'm just, kind of giving
Yes.
an example here,
Right.
but that is, kind of my way of navigating it. And the key really is trust from the client
Mm.
too, trust the process. That's what I always say. And, I promise, you won't be disappointed. So,
So I love all of these little tidbits, but what I would love for you to do, Allison, is take me to the exact conversation. So, you're in a discovery call and you ask them what their budget is. I mean, 7 out of 10 people have got to come back with, well, I don't know. I don't know
yes,
yet, right? So,
yes,
what's the follow up question to that so that you can get to? Because I understand you want the realistic budget so that you can be successful, but you're not going to their house for that first conversation where you're sharing that sheet that Meredith
right.
came up with until you've had some conversation about how realistic their budget is. So take us to, you just asked me and I said, well, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I thought you would tell me what it is.
Okay, so I'll say, well, do you have a number that you're comfortable spending right now? Is there, obviously you called me, so that is, the first step in the process, and you're committed to, taking this next step, and you want to make your home beautiful, and I want to help you do that. And, talk to me about a number that you are comfortable spending right now. Forget about whether it's on a couch or whatever it is. Just a ballpark number. And then, if they're still like, well, I don't know, I'll say, okay, here's an example. And I'll show them maybe some rooms that I've done. And I'll say, okay, this is a $50,000 living room. This is a $25,000 powder room. Just so they can kind of understand, what things cost.
Okay. And that would be important to me as a consumer if you showed me a $50,000 living room and a $150,000 living room. So,
Exactly.
yes, right? Because then I can see the layers. Like the one doesn't have sconces, it doesn't have too many accessories or art, whatever. The other has all the layers, like what you imagine your room is going to look like. But it's like, oh, but 50 only gets me that. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Or
Well,
we're not getting that custom couch, or we're not getting, you know what I mean? We're not getting the performance fabric. We're not getting, the custom sized rug that we really need to fill this space up properly,
right. Or
stuff like
amazing
that.
draperies from Window Works.
Exactly. Listen, I always got you.
So, what's funny is, you know, when you were talking about it and say, well, you just say back, like, look, there's a number you have in your head. I know you do, blah, 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 whatever your actual words are, right? What's so funny is I just almost knee jerk that I thought, ooh, there's going to be some listeners that say, well, that's a little aggressive. I don't think I could just say that. But you know what's interesting? And in 800 interviews in 6.5 years, I've never heard this line in my head. And I just heard it when you were talking. If any one of us were to call a real estate office and say, I'm looking to buy a house. My spouse and I, my partner and I are going from an apartment to a house, or we're going from a house to a downsizing, whatever it is, we literally expect the realtor to ask us two questions off the bat. What area and how much do we want to spend? And
Exactly.
none of us would be insulted by the realtor asking us what we want to spend on a house. Like, you know what I'm saying?
100%. And to me, I mean, I never thought of that question as an aggressive question or a forward question.
Right.
It's a fair question. You're asking me to do a job for you.
Right.
You want me to do a job for you. You have to help me help you.
Right, right.
Help
Well,
me help you.
yes, and but I just love that it's just like ding, 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 like
Yeah.
clarity. And if when you do it that way, when you talk about it that way, help me help you. I'm not judging what your budget is. If you call me
At
up and
all.
you want to buy a house in the 200 to 300,000 range, or the 2 million to 3 million, I don't care. I'm going to find you a house. You're
Mhm.
saying I'll create a room for you, but let me respect what you have and what your investment of available options are, and let me help you do it, right?
And let's make sure that we're the right fit
That's
too.
right, too.
You know?
Exactly. If
Because
you
I
want to
don't
live
want
in
you to
Short
invest
Hills.
in me. Exactly.
Right.
I don't want you to invest in me, and then I come and I can't meet your expectations
Right.
because,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah, I have to say it was a major aha right there. Like and by the way,
Yay.
it was, and I have a lot of designers that have said to me, "Oh, I don't, if they just say they don't know, I don't know what to do, because I feel like I'm being, like you said, too forward or almost too confrontational at the beginning." But to
Mhm.
frame it of, this is how we do, and even if you have to use the example of a realtor, like, this isn't about being judged. This is about me being able to do the job, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's where your 20 years business acumen comes in. You're not stressing, even though you're in interior design business 1 year, you're not bringing some of those stressors and insecurities to the beginning of your business. You're like, this is a business. And in order for me to be productive and take care of you and your investment, I kind of need to know what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. We all want to be successful. There's a reason that you called me. I want to make the best possible, kitchen, bathroom, home, living room, whatever it is for you. But like I said, help me help you.
Mm.
A little Jerry Maguire for you.
Right. So that's something that is been that you've taken that skill set, and it's helped you right out of the gate to have good conversations with luxury clients here and not feel like the water is moving beneath your feet, like you feel like you're on solid ground. But there has to be a couple of things, even one or two moments in the last year where you felt like, uh-oh, what the heck just happened here, or a lesson. Maybe you didn't go all the way down and fail at the thing, but you were like, oh, I could see what's happening here, and I need to, what, I don't know, make an adjustment, make a pivot, go get some help. What have you struggled with?
Oh, LuAnn, that happens every day. You know,
You seem
listen,
so like you got it together, kid. I got to tell you.
thank you. But, I'm learning, too here, and I certainly don't know it all. I think, I mentioned this before, or maybe it was, earlier when we were chatting. I have managed to, in this past year, surround myself with an amazing network and of people who have been in this industry for a long period of time, much longer than me. And whether it's Meredith, who I call, we talk at least, every other day, bouncing ideas off each other, or it's my amazing cabinet vendor, or it's my contractor. I'm learning from people every single day, and I definitely, you know, do not have it all together. And I'm glad I come off that way, because I think that's part of my secret sauce, right?
Mm.
But no, I'm learning every day, and I'm actually in the process right now of hiring, because my it's I need some help here.
Mm.
And I'm looking for somebody who is technically trained in design, maybe somebody
Mm.
from design school, or something like that, because I want to learn from them too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you know, all of the things. And, obviously I can teach a lot of things. I'm good in business. I'm good with people. I'm good with relationships. Obviously I have, a design sense that people seem to like, but there's so much that I don't know. So, um,
Well,
yeah.
and I love that, because that is one of the number one rules. It's hire for the skill sets that you don't have, right? We don't need
Right.
two people in the office that don't know how to do the technical. That's a little silly, right? So, how about though? Look, we mentioned that you're working with WindowWorks on many of your projects, and of
Mhm.
course, you found WindowWorks through the podcast. But where did you? A lot of designers also, when they start out, are like, "How do I meet trades? How do I develop a relationship? How do I know?" Did they come because you did the construction project on your own home, or you went out of that circle? How would you suggest to someone that, whether they're in business 1 minute or 10 years, that doesn't feel like they have a good trade support team around them, to finding that and developing that?
I mean, some of it's been luck. That's for sure. But definitely, I've and it's been trial and error too. But s- for example, my contractor is exactly what you just said, and I do the bulk of all my projects with him. He actually did work on my house, and that's
Mm.
how we met. And this was before I started my business. And then I started my business, and I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, Alex, like, I'm doing this. Let's go." And now, we have such a great rapport and such a great relationship where, I'm bringing him into projects, he's bringing me into projects.
Mm.
So that's been great. And I've met people also just through, I have clients who have brought me into spec home builds, or another client that we're doing um, a custom build. We haven't broken ground yet, but we're doing a custom build, but they already had their builder. So,
Mm.
and I'm meeting people on the job sites and stuff like that. Instagram is huge, LuAnn, honestly. Like, I've met
Wow.
so many vendors through Instagram. And that's how I met Meredith, through Instagram. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I met my cabinet vendor, who is not only, an amazing vendor and resource for me, but an amazing friend, now. And it's a lot of it's been through Instagram too. I mean, this is a very small, this Northern Jersey, New York City kind of design community. It's a lot smaller than you think, and everybody knows everybody. And once you kind of get yourself out there and prove yourself, everybody's kind of introducing themselves to everybody else. And also for me, it's like when I meet somebody and I click with them right away, I know. Like, I have
Yes.
very good intuition with people that way. And that's been a big, just trusting my gut, kind of.
Mm.
And especially, like I always like to say, in this post COVID supply chain, blah blah, and you obviously, and Kim, I mean, huge supports for me both on the business end and friendship.
Yeah,
Kim's amazing,
she is good.
and but I always say this, with what us as designers are dealing with, like I said, with supply chain issues and delivery issues and all of that, our vendors are the only tool that we have to advocate for our clients. That's it. So
Yes.
having good relationships with our vendors, with my vendors, to me is everything. It's everything, because when I have a issue with a window treatment, guess who's taking care of me? Guess who?
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it, because I do have that amazing relationship with you guys. And when a cabinet comes damaged, guess what? I don't have to worry about it. It's getting taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best tool that I have to advocate, for my clients. And so it's just been, I guess, twofold for me, because it's not only been, they're extensions of you guys are extensions of my business, so.
Well, I love it. And it's the thing about it is, we always talk about the power of the relationships that we build, but the I guess the motor to get to the power of the relationships is having the courage to put yourself out there. And
Mhm.
like you said, when you're on a job site and maybe a particular trade is doing a really good job, or he or she has been really positive to work with, you have to, be okay to say, hey, what's your name? And, maybe, could I call you for my project? Another,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the thing. It's one thing to know that you can meet your trades and build relationships, but you do have to take the step to do it. Like,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
they're on the floor, hands and knees, doing the work. Their phone's gonna ring. So you
Mhm.
have to be able the one to be supportive and be collaborative and be a team player, and then reach out and say, I need some help over here. Are you interested? I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And then the thing is, but you didn't actually, I'm just going to call you out on it because I think I can.
Of course you can.
We can edit it out if you don't want it. But like, you didn't actually share like a comeuppance moment, right? And there may not have been one, Allison, like, honest to God, but I'm just curious if there was a moment in the last almost year now that you just thought, whoa, that was a tough lesson. I know with window treatments, it's usually, when I think back, some of the biggest lessons were technical lessons. It was like, oh, so that blind can't do that thing. That's awesome. And I sold it, and it's going to cost us thousands to, actually order the right kind. And like, I
Mhm.
have a saying at WindowWorks, and Kim repeats it too. Well, never make that mistake again. That's a one-time
Mhm.
mistake. So
Mhm.
it could be from a technical standpoint, it could be from a business standpoint. But is there anything that goes through your mind that you just thought to yourself, yikes, I was a hard pill to swallow, but you benefited from it?
Let's see. I mean, I would say, take probably the biggest mistakes that I've made would be taking on projects that were probably not the right fit for me.
Mm.
Um, and not financially or anything like that, but as an interior designer, it's a very personal job, right? I mean, you're
Mm.
literally talking to clients about what side of the bed they sleep on and how they use their toilet, and what,
Mm.
it's very personal. And that for me, excuse me, that relationship is super important. And I've become friends with a lot of my clients at this point. And it's like I was saying before about, just knowing. I mean, I think there's something about that intuition of knowing if you click with somebody, and knowing if you're going to be able to do a good job for them, and if you're going to be able to ultimately give them what they want and what they're paying you for. And I've definitely made some mistakes in that arena. I've definitely taken on projects that probably weren't the best fit for me, or the client, and we've parted ways,
Yeah.
and that's
Well,
okay.
and
That happens.
I love it. I love it. It's a great lesson. It's actually an under talked about lesson. We talk all the time about attracting your ideal client and having the courage to say no to the people that aren't your ideal client. But what I heard in there is the consequence of taking a project that's not a good fit, not so much from a financial standpoint, but when your intuition is telling you that you don't gel with this client, that your personalities don't click, or the project and the scope of it or whatever it is isn't right. And when you do it anyway, it's a much more difficult process to go through that project with that client, isn't it?
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
it's painful,
Yeah.
and
It's like,
and listen,
when is
ultimately at
this
the end of
over?
right, well, that, and ultimately at the end of the day, I'm a people pleaser, and I just
Yes.
want to make, not only from a business standpoint, but that's just my personality, and I
Mm.
just, I want to do a good job, and
Hmm.
I want to make people happy, and it's, you know, upsetting for me,
Yes.
especially because this business is my baby, and
Hmm.
my wins are my wins and my fails are my fails.
Hmm.
I own them both,
Hmm.
and if I fail, yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow for sure, but yes, you learn from everything, and upwards and onwards.
Mm. See, and what I really want to make sure we talk about is there's a nuance between, we've had so many designers, Allison, right on the show, talk to us about, I took anything and everything in the beginning. I took, like, pick the paint colors, just do a little refresh on the bedroom, do until I could get to the point where I could really just cultivate, the clients and the projects that are whatever their end is. I want to do all full first floors. I want to do all houses. I want to only do this, whatever it is. But the thing is, we, even in that stage of building our business, there's a difference between taking on maybe a project where the scope isn't really ideal to where we want to be or where we're headed, and taking on a project where the personalities and the people involved are, we're getting the spidey sense. You have to
Yeah,
walk away from it, right? You have to
you
walk away
do.
from it.
And that's hard as a business owner,
It is.
especially a business owner in this field where you don't necessarily know where your next paycheck is going to
That's
come
right.
from, your next client's going to come from. I've been thinking about this lately, like, in my prior life, we had, it was wholesale, and we had our clients, Saks Fifth Avenue and whoever else, Neiman Marcus, high-end department stores, and you knew every 3 to 4 months you were going to see them again, because there was going to be a new product offering, and you were going to see them
Mm.
again, and they were going to come, and they were going to give you an order. Well, guess what? In this industry, you do the job and you walk away, and that's it.
No sure things, right?
No, and you don't, sometimes you don't know, when your phone is going to ring next. And listen, like, I've been so lucky that my plate is full right now, and I'm still taking on new work, because I don't know how to say no, but that's another issue. um
but
but
you
but
but you're better at, or you're actually absolutely competent at saying no when the personality is not right. When you
a
just get,
hundred
yes,
percent
see, that's, I love that, because it is hard to say no to begin with. I mean, for window treatments, our projects aren't going to go as long, and so we will power through. I can remember a
Mm-hmm.
thousand times sitting in front of somebody and going, I'd never want to spend 5 minutes with you outside of this environment of selling you a window treatment, right? Forever. But
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Let's do it. I'm going to be here for 45 minutes, an hour. We're going to have 2 or 3 more conversations in the next 2 months. We're going to install you, and we're moving on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you guys, to your point, are very personal. And it reminds me of the chairman of the board program. Like, I can have a conversation with somebody, and, there's times when I'm not a right fit because my skill set isn't what they need. That's very clear. I know my superpowers, and when you need different ones, I don't pretend I have them. But there's other times, that I'm like, yeah, no, I cannot meet with this person on the level that I'm going to need to meet with somebody for a whole year, because, like, yeah, but people and all of that stuff, I'm just like, mm-mm. But you do get to that point where, and it doesn't mean that that person, whether it's your client or the prospective person for me, is not a good person. It's just that oil and water rub, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just not a good fit for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason. And these are long-standing relationships. I have clients that I've been, you know, working with for almost a year already,
Yes.
and still going, and I value that, and I'm grateful for that, but yeah, no, this is not, a 2 month, 3 month, window treatment, for
No.
sure.
Yeah.
No,
No.
these are long-standing relationships,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then the final thing was that you told me that you learned, the importance of the putting the system and process in place in your business. You took Sarah's class at LuAnn
Yes.
University, and of course, I mean, Sarah's a rock star. That's
Oh
insanity,
yeah.
that class, right?
Yes, it was such an amazing experience. I mean, it's like you said, when you and I spoke and you suggested this, when I was like, light bulb went off in my head, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is a great idea. It wasn't a huge time commitment.
Right.
It was, once a week for like a couple hours, all online, all virtual. And the best part about it was that it was live
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
So, and it was with a small group of people. This wasn't just like a recording that we were watching. Because that to me, I would have lost interest, in two
Yes, me
seconds,
too.
but it was this is a conversation, and there's everybody's in the same boat, and we're all there learning together, and Sarah's amazing, and obviously she has a business that is very aspirational, and I'm so grateful, to you and to Sarah and just for that class, because I learned so much from it. I really did. And
Mm.
I still obviously have so much to learn. I'm going to design camp in
Oh,
September, I think.
nice.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. We're always learning and always growing. I mean, I think when you stop learning, it's time to maybe
Yes.
like, but um
Well, when you stop learning, you probably have lost the passion for what it is that you're doing, right?
yeah,
It's sort of
yeah,
like whatever.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
funny
that was a
because
great experience.
I'm thinking back. I almost feel like our original call was because you thought you might have been interested in the chairman of the board, right? Like I
I
almost,
didn't know. I didn't
yeah.
know. I just knew that I wanted to talk to you.
Oh,
I
okay. So
didn't
you
know
said that.
what.
No.
Yeah. I didn't know what
Right.
was going to come out of it. I
Right.
didn't know what. I just was so inspired, by you and your business and your podcast, that I obviously the fact that you were local, I was like, you know what, I'm going to throw caution to the wind and
Yes.
send an email. And
Yeah.
I did, and not
Yeah.
knowing if I was going to hear back, and of course I did, and we chatted, and then yeah, I ended up taking Sarah's course,
Yeah.
and
Well, it was
it
a
was great.
perfect example of obviously you're a major business mind and absolutely have such a foundation that was going to set you up, but it's a perfect example of there to for it to be a right fit for me, there's certain things that you have to have in place. And if you still don't have your process and systems, in place, like you were literally 7 weeks in business. And I'm like, oh, you need everything in the weeds.
Mhm.
Like I'm not in the weeds, girl. So what in that case, it wasn't a matter of personality. Obviously, our personalities click, but
Right.
there are different reasons. And so that is the actual thing to take to when you are doing your discovery calls is you're looking for all the things. Is this a project that I have the talent and skills for? Is this a person that I can ask them about their toilet habits? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. And you can't ignore when you're like I call the goddess voice is like warning, warning, Will Robinson, this
Mhm.
is not a good fit. And it doesn't have to be for mean reasons. It just
No.
sometimes is just you're getting the spidey sense. So I
Yeah.
love it. I mean, what an amazing, first year out the gate. And you
It's been a
remind me of
whirlwind.
Meredith. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you remind me of Meredith so much. It's no question you guys are, peas in a pod because you're
Mhm.
both going to have to do the 5 year interview when you come on and you're probably telling
Yay.
me you're doing 5, 6, 8, 10 million. And
Oh,
by the way,
that's from your mouth to God's ears,
well,
LuAnn.
and if that's what you want it to be, right? Because as soon as I say that, I absolutely know that there is a legitimate path for a profitable, successful designer to have no desire to grow to that level, to just keep on doing what they're doing, but do it more efficiently, more profitably, and bring more happiness to their actual daily life. And so but you two ladies are two ladies that I know will create exactly what you have your head set on. That's for sure.
Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. You know, I was listening to um just I was listening to an episode that you just had on, I guess I think it was last week, about, I forget who it was, but it was the different levels of business.
Oh,
Like,
Madeline McRae.
yes, yes, and that
Yes.
was
Oh my
such a
God.
great episode.
That
And
was.
I was listening to that last week, and I was thinking, like, what do I want? What do I want?
Yeah.
Because for me, if, like, you ask me, my initial answer is like the sky's the limit. Like, watch out,
Right.
Studio McGee, here we come. But like realistically, like, what do I want? And that episode really opened my eyes. And yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's like, 5 to 7 employees. I'd still like to remain a boutique firm, focused on, this local area. But yeah, I mean that was a great episode.
Yes.
I could go
She
through list.
she did what that episode was the activities, basically the CEO activities that you need to be doing at each level of your business.
Hmm.
Because Madeline has been on the show several times. And of course, she has a weekly, I don't know if you know this, she has a weekly segment on my window treatment podcast.
No, I didn't.
Oh, see, I'm going to tell you right now. She does every Wednesday, 15 to 20 minutes, and Vita does every Thursday, 15 to 20 minutes. And they are literally, they come on and they just dump like a power lesson on you and they're out. It's great. And Madeline's focuses on, those C-suite level activities, like as you just are thinking about the way you manage your business. And you could be a CEO of a one-person firm and you are that person, or you could be the CEO, like Shay McGee or Lori Umansky or any of these, Corey Damon Jenkins, any of these people that have these multi-person firms, right? But her thing is, and she's been on the show several times before that, and she's the one, look, she didn't make it up, but she's the one who first, what happens is when you teach me something I never heard before, I associate that with you for the rest of my life, whether you made it up or not. And so she talked about the $10 hour activities, the $100 hour activities, the $1,000 and the $10,000 hour activities, right? And so many people from that episode will say, okay, that's great. So, but, I'm the CEO and I have to do $10 hour activities. Does that make me, a putz? You know what I'm saying? Like it's only me and two people, or it's only me or it's me and five people and I'm still doing $10 or $100 hour activities. Am I doing it wrong? And her last episode where she clarified what you do as a CEO at the 4 different stages of your business, I was like, whoa, high five on this one, lady.
Yeah, it was a great episode.
It really was. She's a rock star. I love that kid.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, thank you. Thank you so much, Allison. This was so much fun.
So much fun.
Keep poking your head into my office when you come to Window Works.
You know I will, and I'll wear my green, too, so...
I know. Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today. I really enjoyed hearing it in more detail. Thanks, Allison.
Thanks so much, LuAnn.
I just love Allison's story, and I am so honored to know that I was able to help her in her first year of success between listening to A Well-Designed Business and also in referring her to take Sarah's course, How to Build Systems into Your Services at LuAnn University. And it's funny because if you're a longtime listener, you've heard other designers tell us this, right? I'm thinking of Darla Powell. She was a Miami-Dade detective and then became an interior designer, but she was listening to the show for months and months and months before she sent me that email and said, I just turned in my resignation. We had never met before that. The same with Kelsey Gross from Farmer's Daughter Interiors. She wrote me an email and said, I used to ride the tractor trailer on our farm up here in Canada, listening to your show saying, I'm going to be an interior designer. And the same with Megan Moulton, who was, I believe, a pharmaceutical rep. And she said she used to ride her territory in her car all the time, listening to the podcast saying, someday I'm going to be an interior designer. And so I just love when I learn about those of you that do gather the courage and the know-how and this confidence by listening to your peers and the lessons that they've brought to the show. So yay, yay, yay. But I have to say, it obviously was not just me that created Allison's $1 million year. It was not just taking Sarah's course. It literally is because of her own personal work ethic, her passion, her intuition, and the commitment she has to learning what she didn't know she didn't know. These are the things that truly that created her success, right? I love that Allison's husband was supportive and encouraged her to take the plunge. But as amazing as that was, I love more that Allison knew she wasn't quite ready, that she wanted to be smart about it, and she wanted to get one solid local client first. Okay. Now, why do I love this? Do I care that she needed, or in her mind, one local client? No, that's not the part I love. The part I love is that she felt that that was the case, right? People are always going to be there, especially people that have our back and love us, and they're going to encourage us, and they're going to tell us that we can do something. But it's our intuition that we ultimately need to follow, and that's what Allison did. This is critical. And it will be throughout your entire business journey, right? I always talk about our goddess voice. We already know everything we need to know. You hearing me? You already know everything you need to know. You just need to listen and trust and believe in yourself. Okay, it helps. It helps tons and tons when you have people in your corner like Allison did, her husband, me, Sarah Brennan, all the things. But that's not the differentiator. The differentiator is you. It's your belief in yourself, your commitment to yourself to take action, and your ability to listen and follow your inside voice, right? So, Allison got that one client, and now her inside voice was in alignment. And armed with this, she knew that she could make a career change after 20 years. She knew she could design beautiful homes. And then what did she do next? She then surrounded herself with a team, a network of people who in all the different ways could help make her dream come true. People like Meredith Huck, who she met on Instagram, who also grossed $1 million in her first year and was just recently on the podcast. So please go to the show notes and listen to her episode as well. Right? Meredith is someone that she can talk to, commiserate with, to ask, but how did you do it? Right? Then there was the contractor who did the construction on her own house. And then all the way to our WindowWorks team here. You know, our WindowWorks team helps Allison execute window treatment projects that might technically be actually beyond her technical knowledge, but not beyond her aesthetic knowledge, right? So knowing that you can imagine something, but also knowing that you've got someone there that has your back that can create your vision, that's huge. Okay. And in order to have these things, you do have to build relationships. Okay. Fast success doesn't come without a hard lesson or two, right? And neither me or Allison will ever tell you that it doesn't. So something that Allison learned was that she was making the mistake of taking on projects when she knew they weren't a right fit for her, right? Okay. Hard lesson. We all do it. Again, it goes back to the importance of listening to our inner voice, our intuition, right? And we also talk all the time about how to attract our ideal clients and how to say no to the non-ideal clients. But we should also talk about more on the consequences of when we do take on the client that's not the right fit, okay? Because that's the reason. Right? It's all the ways the project goes sideways, but we're standing there and we're saying to ourselves weeks and months in, I knew from the beginning that I didn't have a good feeling on this. That's when we're ignoring our inner goddess voice, right? And there's a nuance in there. I get it. In the beginning, many times we take on any and all the projects because we're trying so hard to succeed and to get the business up and running. But sometimes we do have to pay attention that the harder lesson and the more painful lesson is taking on projects that aren't a right fit. Okay. It might be harder than having no project at all. All right. So I also want to give a high five and a shout out to Sarah Brennan. The rave reviews, the testimonials that we have received for her and her course content at LuAnn University are incredible. How to build systems into your services. She is truly remarkable. And we are opening it again this fall in 2022. So do yourself a favor and look into LuAnn University and look at this class and all the others that we have. The current roster is up, but we are working right now and we're adding on 1 day, 3-hour intensives this semester as well. So in addition to the roster of the 5-week live taught classes, these are not downloads that, you buy and they sit in your computer and you never do anything with them. No, they're live taught. We're also adding a week's worth of 3-hour intensives on various subjects. So that information will be on the website in the next couple of weeks, but right now you can see the full courses, the full 5-week semester courses that are there. So go to LuAnnUniversity.com. All right. I am happy for Allison and I'm proud of her and everything that she's learned from the podcast and from Sarah's course. And I'm so thrilled to know that both were a game changer for her in getting her company off the ground. It's really, really something else. And I see her, like I said, I know how hard she's working and I know how intentional she is. And I know how much of her expertise from that 20-year career she's bringing to this business. And that, again, is a differentiator. Lean on the skills that you've developed, whether it was your college skills, anywhere, career, 1-year career, 20-year career, right? You've got things in there that you can say, that will help me over here in this business. Let me apply those things. All right. So thank you, Allison, for sharing your first year success with us, your success and your challenges. It's so good. And I will see you at WindowWorks very soon, I'm sure. And thank you for listening. I appreciate you so much that you show up and you do this with me. I'm having a blast and I am grateful that you're along the ride with me. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNiagara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.